Three, two, one, here we go. Hello everyone, I'm Brian the Rain Man Lucas. Welcome to RainMan'S Take, observations on the world we live in. We're going to take a deeper dive into topics of interest to me, including politics, current events, history, popular culture, and social issues. You'll find the diversity of topics refreshing. In our clickbait, soundbite society, we rarely get the whole story. RainMan'S Take interviews interesting people as well as peeling back the onion on specific topics, all with the goal of getting people to think more deeply about a subject. Hey everybody, it's the Rain Man coming at you with a raindrop for this week's episode. The reason why I'm doing a raindrop and not an actual full-length interview is, as most of you know, I was on vacation last week in Sedona, Arizona, and I had put something on my Instagram with a video of me and my wife in Boynton Canyon Trail, which is amazing. So we were on vacation last week. I didn't get a chance to get a full-length interview in. However, starting back up again next week, we'll have our regular Thursday interviews. But for today, I wanted to do a raindrop on a subject that is very near and dear to my heart. As you can see by my t-shirt here, let me move the microphone. I'm a huge New England Patriots fan. Actually, I'm a huge New England sports fan in general, but football is my favorite sport and Patriots are my favorite team. So we are going to talk Patriots today. Specifically, we are going to talk whether or not it is the system, i.e. the coach and the system that he puts into place with the team, or is it the individual that makes or breaks a football program. This has been a huge topic with over all the sports talk shows and the sports radio shows. Whether or not the Patriots' 6 Super Bowls that they've won over the years is due to Hoodie's system that he has in place there, or whether or not it's the greatest of all time, the GOAT Tom Brady, his talent as the quarterback. Was it him that was responsible for all of those victories? So that is going to be the subject of today's raindrop. And to be perfectly honest with you, I'm very excited about it because, like I said, football is my favorite sport. I'm from New England originally, and I just love talking all things Patriots. So let's go ahead and start. A little bit of a background. As you all know, I grew up in outside of Boston. And my family has been season ticket holders, or my dad has been season ticket holders with the Patriots since 1974. And if there are any Patriots fans out there can attest to this, those 70s and the 80s were not very good for the New England Patriots. As a matter of fact, it was downright ugly. I remember the old Schaefer Stadium, one of those nasty old football stadiums with some nasty old fans occupying those seats or those benches, and it was just unpleasant. It was unpleasant in the stands. It was unpleasant to watch what was going on the football field. I remember Steve Grogan, the quarterback in the late 70s, early 80s, used to have to wear a neck protective guard, because the guy was getting hit and knocked down all the time. So as New England Patriots fans, we can gloat now with our 6 world championships. However, it was not always that way. And for the vast majority of the Patriots' history, it has been ugly. So we are basking in the glory of what's been going on over the last decade and a half. And so that's kind of the background of why I'm doing this raindrop today. So let's get down into the weeds here. So, is it Belichick or is it Brady that made the Patriots such a dominant program? So here is my take. Last year, much like the rest of Patriots Nation, when I heard that Brady was going to be traded, I just couldn't believe it. It was crazy, and I giggle about it now because I was so into it, and I still am. But you know what? Life goes on, and over this off season, with as crazy as it has been with all the COVID-19, just all the mayhem, I quickly settled into the fact that hey, that's life, and we'll see what happens. I love Brady. I love Hoodie. And so I was a little bit torn over the off season, and much like everybody else listening to all the sports talking heads out there, starting to believe the hype that there was a big argument as to who was more important to the success of a program. And quite frankly, I got to the point right before the season started. I got to the point where the Sage, my wingman, who is also from New England, is also a humongous New England sports fan and New England Patriots fan. I got to the point where I actually said that I thought it was Brady that was the reason for all of those world championships. However, in my defense, I quickly agreed with Bill when he said he thought it was the system that provided the structure for the success. How's that for waffling, by the way? Regardless, I'm still torn. My bold prediction when I was talking to the Sage was that it would be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl. How amazing would that be, and how torturous would that be for us New England Patriots fans? What do you do in that situation? Anyway, so I think deep down my personal belief is that it's the system that makes the success. Now, obviously, I got caught up with all of the hype around Tom Brady with a new lease on life and a new football program, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But I think deep down, it's the organization, how the organization's set up that really provides the framework for that success on the field. Ever since Robert Kraft took over, I think he took over sometime in 2002 or 2003, something like that. Ever since he came in and he brought Bill Belichick in, I think he brought Hoodie in 2003 or 2004. Ever since then, they've just been building and building and building. With Josh McDaniel as the longtime stalwart, as the offensive coordinator, the system just got to the point where it was almost running on autopilot, and with Hoodie at the helm. And I say that because Tom Brady was so comfortable in that system for the last decade that really everybody, it was almost like they knew what each other was thinking. They were able to just almost work like robots out there and just move the ball down the field. It was just beautiful to watch. And quite frankly, I don't care what anybody says about all the controversy around the Patriots. My personal take on that is that hate the winners. Everybody hates the winner, and when you're winning as much as the Patriots do, you're going to get a lot of haters. So I'm smiling here because that's just the way it is. So I think when you talk about is it the system, is it the quarterback, in New England it was just a beautiful marriage of both. And one of the other kind of things that I think about when I'm trying to answer that question is, for the last several years, Brady did not have the supporting cast that he had in the past that was so dominant. And they were just kind of picking people, picking random players out, trading or trading for them or drafting them. These random players that nobody had ever heard of, they plop them into the system, and then all of a sudden these guys are superstars. And so they were able to do that with every type of player, whether it was a rookie, whether it was a struggling veteran who may have had his best football behind him, and obviously they were able to pull something out of him, or more importantly, in my mind, they were able to take the misfits from the league and really get something out of them. And you always hear about it's the Patriots way, and you either step in line with the Patriots way or you're gone. And you saw that briefly with Antonio Brown. You saw it with Josh Gordon. You saw it with Randy Moss. These guys were tough individual egos, prima donnas I would almost call them, and they basically wore out their welcome with their other programs. And so the Patriots much to the dismay of fans at the time of the initial reporting on these episodes, the Patriots take these individuals in that just so happen to be awesome football players. They take them in, they make them believe in the Patriot way, and then sure enough, these guys have a jolt of success back into their careers. Now, obviously, Gordon had some serious substance abuse issues, and he's no longer there. And everybody knows about Antonio Brown over the last couple of years. But Randy Moss is a perfect example. He just stepped in. He believed in what was going on, and they turned him into Super Bowl, almost Super Bowl champs. And that was the Super Bowl, I believe, where the New York Giants receiver caught the ball with his head. And still to this day, that play haunts me because they should have gone 18-0 with another Super Bowl. I digress. So all of those things kind of are leaning me towards it's Hoodie in the system. And this past week was opening weekend for football, and I'm so pumped that it's back. I'll have something to say at the very end about all of the protests, the organized protests among the league, the teams in the league, and I'll discuss that afterwards. But just as a pure football fan who's loved football all my life and played all my life, it was great to have it back, and it was so great, especially in this day and age that we're living in with COVID-19. So just real excited to see football back on television, and was very excited to see how things were going to go with the Patriots, the new Patriots, and the new Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And obviously, as everyone knows by now, the Patriots won a pretty handled victory over the Miami Dolphins, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers lost to the New Orleans Saints. So, how does last weekend's efforts build or sort of reinforce my leaning towards the system being the main point and the main reason for success amongst a football team? Cam Newton. We'll start with him first. Cam and Hoodie. The Patriots brought in Cam in the off season, and my general impression of Cam when I first heard the trade was that I know that Cam is an awesome football player, and when he's healthy, he's one of the more dominant quarterbacks in the league. However, he hasn't been healthy over the last few years, and I didn't know if his ego was going to allow him to buy into the system, to buy into what Hoodie and McDaniels had in store for him. So why do I say that? Well, I always got the impression that Cam's got a real flamboyant, real outgoing, entertainment-like personality. You can tell by how he dresses for his post-game pressers. So that's all well and good when you're winning and everybody's great and everything is great and it's all gravy. However, when things started to go sideways, when he started to get hurt and they started to lose, that little shtick started to get old, because then people started kind of commenting on it, and I got the impression that he didn't have the personality or the mentality to be able to suck it up when things weren't going his way, and the comments about him, his play, his outfits started to get negative. You just tell that I was like, oh God, maybe he doesn't have that mental fortitude to withstand when times are bad. And that is definitely not the Patriots way. The Patriots way is you suck it up, and whether you're winning or losing, it's even keel. It's no highs, no lows. You're a boring interview, and you just go out and get the job done. And they've been known for that, and it's actually just hilarious when you watch Belichick during the season in interviews. He's that grumpy, talks like this, really low, doesn't look at anybody, and as soon as the information is out there, he's done. On the off season, from what I hear, the guy's actually hilarious, and he's very outgoing. He's constantly smiling, so it's an obvious act, but that's the Patriots way. So I was very interested to see whether or not Cam would fit into that particular system. And quite frankly, I was very pleasantly surprised. It seemed like from day one, from day one, both the organization and Cam seemed like they moved a little bit together. So what I mean by that is during pre-season, or not, off-season workouts, some of the preseason practices that you saw on television, Cam was Cam. He was out there, he was gregarious, joking around with everybody, bouncing around, just looking like a little kid having a blast on the playground. And when you got him afterwards for interviews and pressers, even though he was very outgoing and gregarious, he still had a level of business, all Patriots way type of vibe to it. So to me, it felt like they hit the perfect balance of that. And what happens, game one last Sunday, he goes out and plays awesome. And now I'm real excited because if he's healthy and if he continues to buy into what they're trying to do there, I really think that they could go a long way, because it was really, really fun to watch. I mean, as a New England Patriots fan, I cannot remember the last time we had a quarterback that was that mobile. I don't know if we ever have. Certainly Brady was not. And so that's nice to have that added threat potential out there on the offense. So one more thing about Cam that I'll mention, because it definitely hit me as, wow, they have something potentially here in terms of the balance between Cam being quote-unquote Cam, i.e. gregarious, outgoing, really flamboyant, really kind of crazy, out there, attention-getting type of stuff, and Cam being the super professional leader of the New England Patriots. And you saw that in their post-game interview, and I freaking loved it. Cam was out there. He had one of his crazy hats on, his huge mop of hair kind of stuffed under the hat, had glasses on, a little bit of a crazy outfit, not nearly as crazy as some of the ones that you used to see him in Carolina, but it was definitely, you could tell it was Cam Newton. But then when we started speaking and talking about the game, even though he was smiling and kind of enjoying himself, there was a underlying current of all business and how they played, and everything was focused on the team, on getting better. We'll see how we do next week. So it was very, very refreshing. And quite honestly, I was pleasantly surprised. So that, I hope, continues, because I think there's some serious potential there. And based on the way they played, albeit it was against the Dolphins, and it was probably, you could chalk that one up to a win before the game even started, but you go out there and play the game anyway, and they did. And even though you could tell that the guys are still getting used to each other, Cam dropped right into the system and was really, really playing well. So that gave me a lot of confidence as a New England Patriots fan. Now, one more thing about Belichick and the system. All the fan gear that I have is all New England Patriots. I don't have anything that's just strictly Brady. Like, I don't have a game jersey of Brady's, etc. So everything is geared toward the team, toward the program, towards the success of the program, and so that is the direction I'm leaning in terms of the argument who's better for the program. So let's go to the other side of the coin, and that is the GOAT himself, Tom Brady. And like I said earlier, I got to be honest with you. Throughout the off season, all the pitching and the promotion, I was buying it hook, line, and sinker from the talking heads, and that's kind of, it's funny because it goes against my whole thing about the reason why I started RainMan'S Take in the first place, and that is, don't believe everything you hear. So with that being said, I bought into it. Brady was looking good. He was doing all the right things, even though COVID had really kind of disrupted a normal off season. He was down there. He was getting to know his guys. He was just looking like he was rejuvenated and excited about the challenge. And that you know what? The guy's awesome, and he is going to go down in history as the GOAT, as he should. And I was starting to think, oh my God, if he drops into Tampa Bay and takes him to the show, I mean, that would just be unbelievable. So I was definitely torn, honestly torn, and I was very excited to see the opening game on Sunday. And not only Brady, but then you throw in Gronk on top of that, and it's just, it's exciting. And the one thing I did say early on to the Sage was, I'm glad that Tampa Bay is in the NFC, and not the AFC, because I would not want to see them play each other on a regular basis in the regular season. So you could only dream for that dream matchup, or could be a nightmare matchup depending on where your loyalties lie, with the Patriots and the Buccaneers in the Super Bowl. So Brady down there, looked like everything was going great. Now they came out, and even the first drive in the game against the Saints, I mean, it looked like it was the old Tom Brady with a little bit of splash of high energy, because he actually quarterback sneak in for a touchdown on the first drive. So all of a sudden you're like, oh damn, this is going to get interesting. These guys look good. And then of course the game plays out. Brady ends up not playing very well at all. He had a couple of interceptions, and the Saints ended up beating the Buccaneers. So my take on that, quite frankly, is the Saints were a much better opponent for the Buccaneers than the Dolphins were for the Patriots. With that being said, it just looked like he wasn't fully on board. He wasn't fully internalized the program. You saw a couple times where the receiver and the quarterback weren't on the same page of music. So it seems like they've got a little bit of ways to go. You can chalk that up to not enough time practicing together, because they didn't have a preseason this year. I don't know what the case may be. It looked like they were spending a lot of time together, throwing the ball around in the off season, but who knows? It just seemed like there was a couple of areas where they need to tighten up if they're going to have any success this year. And quite frankly, and this is where I'm kind of leaning towards the system argument. Brady's getting up there in age. He is not nearly the athlete that Cam Newton is. Obviously, Tom's football IQ and his accuracy are insane, and they still are insane. And that's going to take him a long way. But he just came across looking a little bit old, and as a huge Tom Brady fan, that was a little bit tough to watch. And so hopefully he can kind of pick that up and turn it around. So I think that watching him, it just made you realize that the system in New England, especially for the last several years, when Tom started to get up there in age, started to become less and less mobile in the pocket and in the backfield, you started to really see that the system kind of enveloped him and played to all of his strengths. And because he had such a knowledge of the program, of the system, I mean, that's all he ever knew with Belichick. Because of that, he was able to succeed in that. And you saw several times over the years where things kind of went off script, where he had to scramble or try to run something. He would just either fall down, or he wouldn't even attempt to make any yardage gains running the football. So he knew exactly his position in that framework, in that system, and everybody did. And as long as everybody was working in there, his accuracy, his football IQ, his intelligence, and just his ability to pass the ball down the field and control the game came out, and they just looked awesome. So 20 years in one system, 1 year, not even a year, a few months in a brand new system. Obviously, there's going to be some some growing pains there. So I think at the end of the day, my gut and my head are telling me that the answer to that age-old question, which came first, the chicken or the egg, I have to go ahead with Belichick and the system. And the fact that Brady was so successful was because he was in a great system that he knew inside and out, and that system, at least, and again, it's game one. You know, there's a whole season left, and anything can happen. So this is probably a premature projection, but I think that the system will, in the end, turn out to be the dominant reason why a team is successful or not. And again, as a New England Patriots fan, I'm real excited. Last weekend was really fun to watch, and it gave us a lot of hope for the continuing dominance of the New England Patriots in the AFC East. So that's kind of my take on the argument of whether it's the system with Hoodie or it's the individual athlete with the GOAT, Tom Brady. So now, just real quick at the end here, I just want to just comment a little bit on the organized team protests and demonstrations that happened during the pregame, and pretty much almost every single team had something to do, had something to say. This is my take on it, and that is, everybody knows that I'm a huge fan of the military. I'm a huge fan of the police and the fire departments and the first responders. I've got family in all of those departments. I myself am a vet, and I just do not like it. And my feeling is they're disrespecting the United States of America when they do something with the national anthem. Now, if my recollection is correct, the Kansas City Chiefs, what they did, I didn't have a problem with it. They did something before the game started, before the anthems, as an organization, and then I believe all but one player stood for the national anthem. So I mean, I've no problem with them protesting and getting their feelings across and their thoughts across. I have no problem with that. However, they need to understand that a lot of people are not necessarily into that, and as evidenced by the fact that in the pregame, the players were exercising their rights to show their opinion and show their feelings, and the fans were doing the same thing, and there was a lot of booing going on there. So, you know, it's a fine line, and it seems like the vast majority of fans don't necessarily want to hear the politics interjected with the entertainment of football. So I don't know if this is going to be a year-long thing. I hope it isn't, because it just seems, in my mind, it just starts to get a little watered down when all you do is you stand there arm in arm and you think that that's going to solve the problem. I think that that's going to water down the whole need for some serious reform, and that's a shame. And you saw that happen with the Me Too movement. And I hope that the protests don't go on all year, because I think that that's going to be detrimental to the NFL. You know, I'm torn because I love football, and I probably will continue to watch it, but it just leaves a bad taste in my mouth personally as a vet, and again as a fan of those the police and the fire and the first responders. It just leaves a bad taste in my mouth when they do that. And then I think, and I don't recall the team that did this. I want to say it was Kansas City, but that may not be accurate. One of the mentions before the game started was the team basically, as an entire organization, had set up several interactive avenues or programs with not only the city that they were located in, the police departments and all those kind of outreach programs. And I thought that was awesome. I mean, I thought that to me is how they should be using their platform to bring about change. I mentioned a program that they were doing. It was great because it looked like several of the players had interactions with not only the police in South side of Chicago, but they were also bringing the police into schools and just having a police interaction with the community. And the black captain in the commercial says, it's helpful when the kids in the community see that the police are one of them. So that to me is how you create change. And the name escapes me of the team that did it, but they basically pledged to do that as an entire organization to the city that they're in all year. And if every team could do that, that's 32 teams in 32 of the largest cities in the country. If every team could commit to those types of programs where they're interacting with law enforcement, they're interacting with the city politics, just to start to change minds and behaviors, that is how it's going to work. Not kneeling down for the national anthem and actually turning people off. So again, my own opinion, that's my take on it. Right or wrong, I have no idea. That's just how I feel. And I hope during the season that we start to see more of that, because that, I think, is the way that we're going to start to promote change and not water it down like I feel it has the potential to do with all of these protests. So that should do it right now for this raindrop about the New England Patriots and whether or not it was Hoodie or the GOAT that made the team as successful as they have been over the last decade. So, thanks very much for watching. I'm really excited that football is back and can't wait to see what the Patriots put on the field this weekend. All right, guys, this is the Rain Man. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching Rain Man's Take, observations on the world we live in. If you like the content, don't forget to hit the subscribe button below. You can also follow Rain Man's Take on Instagram at Rain Man's Take. Also, check out our website at www.rainmanstakepodcast.com and send your comments to rainmanstake@gmail.com. Keep an eye out for future podcasts, which will be coming out every Thursday at 5 p.m. West Coast time.